Hey everyone, Albert Lee here with Cleverkey Consulting Group, and today I have the pleasure of interviewing my very good friend Paul Wartenberg, partner of EnhancedTech, an IT management firm. His company takes over a variety of IT-related tasks in an effort to have companies outsource and save money. While IT management is critical to a lot of companies, gone are the days of employing a huge IT staff, and his company provides resources on an as-needed and ongoing basis. Ultimately, this saves his customers a lot of money without sacrificing their IT capabilities. Let's get to know him and his company. Hey everyone, it's Albert Lee with Cleverkey Consulting Group, and I want to introduce you to Paul Wartenberg. Paul, thank you so much for taking the time to talk about your business. Tell us about it.
Well, great, Albert. Thanks for having me. We appreciate you taking the time to meet with us. A little bit about us. We're an organization that's been in business for over 30 years. We started off as what's called a value-added reseller IT solutions provider. And over the years, we've morphed into more of an IT consulting and managed service provider. We have three offices, two in Orange County, one in Denver and one in Phoenix, and we have about 35 employees, with most of them being technical. Thank you.
Great. Paul, well, tell us how you got into this industry and how you became an entrepreneur.
Well, thanks. It's actually kind of I find it an interesting story. So I started my schooling at UC Irvine in the computer science. And as a freshman and sophomore, I noticed during the career days, we had a lot of exciting companies that were there recruiting different computer science and engineering staff. And so I actually transferred to Cal State Fullerton shortly thereafter in the business school. And when I went to career fair there, it was a bunch of crickets, if you know what I mean. Okay. Nobody was really clamoring to find business majors. So you kind of had to make a name for yourself. So at that time, I decided to get a job working part-time, and it was with an IT consulting firm. And I learned the business at a very young age, and that kind of set the stage for me in the future. So to kind of fast forward a number of years, I won't give my age away, working for various companies throughout my career, I decided about halfway through it was time to kind of start my own business based on supporting small to mid-sized companies and providing IT services for them.
Okay, Paul, in your opinion, how is your firm different than your competitors, and why should people come to your company for their managed IT services?
I think that's a great question. So I feel strongly that our key differentiator is that our organization, and mainly our staff, is laser beam focused on the business requirements of our clients. And this is not just lip service. We spend a lot of time, a lot of training, and have all of our engineers, all of our staff work very closely with our clients to understand their business requirements. And in our industry, a lot of our competition is kind of what I call that one-size-fits-all mentality, and we're not that. We have the breadth of experience and the wherewithal to help our clients manage their business and the requirements they set forth for their IT requirements.
Paul, can you really tell our viewers what they can expect if they use your firm for managed IT services?
Yeah, I think one of the things that they'll find, and for a lot of our new clients, they've never been through a process that's fully documented all of their IT processes and provide an assessment of their IT needs. So when a client engages with us, they're going to get the benefit of all of our experience, but in a documented format. And so the end result is going to be a streamlined, documented, and a well-managed process, which for a lot of our clients, that is the first time they're experiencing that.
All right, Paul. So in today's business climate, especially in the COVID era, we see a lot of businesses, at least for my clients, a lot of them have kind of released their employees to work from home. And we're not talking about manufacturers or fulfillment centers. We're talking about like administrative type employees where they can work from home. How can your firm help those companies set up work from home situations better?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, and you hit the nail on the head. I mean, the explosion of people going home to work was probably paramount in our industry. And so yes, as an organization, we were able to facilitate the technical side of things, which is important, but what we also provide are kind of like what I call 3 pillars or 3 essentials of working from home. And one of those, probably the most key, is collaboration. So a lot of organizations didn't realize, sending people home might be fairly straightforward from a technical standpoint, but how do they communicate with that employee? How do they keep that employee engaged with the firm? So we offer a number of collaboration tools to facilitate that. The other area of key importance is you send somebody home, how do you measure their productivity? I mean, some companies have very easily key metrics, some don't. And so is that employee, and I might be, visiting the refrigerator too much? Yes, probably. Playing with the dogs, watching a little TV. But the reality is, am I as productive as I was before? And so we offer tool sets to allow employers measure their employees' productivity working from home. And then finally, and probably the most important part is security. The biggest thing that we're seeing is that people are taking advantage of people working from home and using different techniques, if it's phishing types, emails or things of that nature, to trick employees to click on things or do things they shouldn't do. So we offer a series of security services to help prevent people from being compromised.
Well, Paul, let's stay on that, because
Sure.
I think some of my clients in the past, I've had Snapchat and Loan Depot, and there are treasure troves of data that really needs to be protected. Can you talk a little bit more about security and what you guys offer?
Sure. So security, and the best way I can put it, is a comprehensive layered approach. If you look at home security, how can you secure your home? And you start thinking about the different layers you need to put in place. If it's something simple as deadbolts, to alarm systems, to surveillance, to other types of biometrics that people put in their homes to prevent security. The same thing applies to business. You have to put in layers within a reasonable amount from a business requirement. So once you send people home, in some cases you're introducing someone's home network, which could have a lot of different computers and other devices, IoT devices, refrigerators that talk to the internet, you name it. And all of those are technically become entry points into your corporate network.
Oh, wow.
Pretty scary stuff.
Absolutely.
So you can just imagine, if you're a bad guy or bad actor, they like to call them, how easy it would be to compromise someone's home system and then use that to piggyback into their corporate network. And that's where we have the tools and the security systems to basically help minimize that.
Right. Now, Paul, I don't want to put you on the spot or anything like that, but I have clients ranging in a variety of sizes. Sometimes they're entrepreneurs and maybe they're less than 10 people, but I've also had clients that had 3,000 employees with maybe 1,500 of them or more, being at home. What could the cost to implement a good security protocols or system, for home use? How much that probably cost?
I mean, so you'd be amazed. I mean, some of the items that are in place are not very expensive from an overhead standpoint or from a monthly standpoint. I mean, you can build what's called a security stack of services. Phishing testing, vulnerability scanning at these offices, additional managed detection and response, for something as little as maybe $15 to $20 per user working remotely, which, based on the costs of what they're doing, how much potentially they're saving, that's not a big dollar amount.
Yeah, I'll agree.
So, yeah.
I'll agree. And then, so let's move to one of the other pillars, if you don't mind,
Sure.
and we'll talk about worker productivity.
Right.
I know that my clients were always thinking, how do I know if I send my employees home to work, how do I know if they're really getting work done? I know there are certain jobs where it's project-based,
Right.
and if the project is being completed, clearly the work is getting done. But when it comes to other jobs where, maybe they're like a medical biller or something like that, and things are, volume. Yeah, how do you measure that, or what tools do you guys have to help measure that?
So we have a series of monitoring tools that used to be used for organizations that would measure abuse in the organization or tracking for investigations. The organizations that we partner with that do these services have morphed that services into how to measure productivity. So to give you an example, the best way to do that, as you mentioned, is if you have a medical processor working at home, they're going to be working on an application to do that. and the app and the monitoring tool can actually measure keystrokes, activity of windows. Let's say, for example, somebody brought up a YouTube program to watch some fun stuff, and they put their line of business app kind of in the background. Well, the technology can actually measure that aspect of what's being displayed to that person in front versus what's in the back. And so it provides all these key metrics around that, and you can actually put in the system what your application is, and it can measure that from productivity. And the key is that you're going to be measuring across an organization. So if you have 1,500 users, you literally can set a baseline and work through that with all the different staff members through that. So
yeah, that was going to be my next question. If you had like a large workforce at home and you had this technology, I think it would be impossible to measure all 1,500 employees. Right. So there's the metrics that you put in there will trigger certain things, and then a report would come out. Is that what you're kind of talking about?
Yeah. So I mean, and you're right. I mean, if it's even 10 users versus 1,500, organizations have to change the way they think about their employees working from home. Things are changed, but you can create a baseline and do exception-based reporting. And usually, what's going to happen is you're going to have those outliers, those very few employees that are not being productive at home for one reason or another, and this technology will basically exemplify that or demonstrate that to the employer and allow them to take corrective action.
Great. And then now for the first pillar, I apologize, what was the first pillar again? Let's talk about that.
The key, collaboration.
Oh, collaboration, yeah, that's right.
Got to have fun together, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I know, Microsoft Teams is popular, Zoom is popular, maybe even, the Google products and things like that. So what type of collaboration tools do you offer or suggest?
So we're a big Microsoft shop, we're a Microsoft partner. So I'd be remiss in not saying that Microsoft is probably one of our go-to products. We're also partnered with other vendors such as Zoom and RingCentral, and provide a number of collaboration tools related to them. But for us, it's more about offering kind of a foundation for our clients to be able to offer a collaboration tool, and then giving them the security around that to make sure it's being used properly.
Oh, great.
But it's exciting. I mean, one of the things that I like to share, even within our own organization, is we've changed because of some of these tools. Now that we've always used the tools, but kind of like the cobbler's kids, we only use them for very specific purposes. So during COVID-19, we've taken the opportunity to expand upon these tools, and some of our key staff members have taken it, and we're doing virtual happy hours, virtual poker events, virtual cooking events, you name it. We're having all these different fun events. We're doing morning huddles with show and tell, things of that nature, and it's literally brought our organization together. So of those three essential components, they're all equally important in my opinion, but the collaboration is what's really driving productivity and keeping your remote staff, in my mind, very, very happy from a work standpoint. So
awesome. Okay, Paul, thanks for all of that information. Why don't we switch gears a little bit? Can you tell us what the best part of owning your own business is?
Yeah, thanks, Albert. There's a lot of things I like to talk about, but I actually want to start with family. When I started my business, I did it for a lot of reasons. At least I thought I had a lot of reasons. But one of the biggest benefits was the ability for me to have flexibility to spend time with my family. More importantly, my kids, my wife. But doing things such as leaving at a moment's notice to go do baseball practice, softball practice, soccer, tennis, having the capability to go to school and see plays during the day, which I really didn't have when I was working for an organization, gave me a lot of that flexibility. I cherish that, and I always will. And now, of course, I had to go home at night and work late at night, but as you probably know, you do that all the time.
Yeah.
But having that flexibility is great. And then the other aspect is seeing and working with some of the greatest staff members, team members in our organization, having that opportunity, even when I've had, and it's kind of rare, we have a very high tenure in our organization, but even when an employee has left our organization because he's left for all the right reasons, he's learned a lot, he's grown, and he gets this wonderful opportunity, and I get to take part in that, I take a lot of pride in that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Those are the two things that I feel are real value for owning your own business.
Now, tell us what's the most challenging part of owning your own business?
Lots of challenges, as you're quite aware of. I think the biggest one for me was balancing professional versus my personal life. There's a lot of responsibility, as you know, of owning your own business, and as you start to grow your staff, you feel even more responsibility. So working, long, hard hours is part of that, but taking the time and making the commitment to decompress, if it's hobbies, activities, exercise, vacations, those have been the biggest challenges, and I've had to balance that. And as you know, it's hard to really leave the organization when you're the owner.
Yeah.
As you're quite aware. And then when you're on vacation, so I've made the effort to kind of, model in such that I do spend time when I'm on vacation working, if it's early morning before anybody gets up. And the only time I think I can actually truly get away is when I go backpacking someplace far away with no cell service. But other than that, that's been the biggest challenge. It puts, you have a lot of pressure, and you obviously have to come up with some ways to decompress.
So Paul, what are some of the things that you've learned about being an entrepreneur?
I think one of the biggest things I learned, and I learned this early, was to really learn to trust my staff. I hire some of the, we've hired some of the best and brightest, and we have to learn to trust them. And as an entrepreneur and having a certain mindset, it's hard not to try not to micromanage. So that's been a big challenge. And so there's been a lot of times when I've had it's challenging to have to step back. I guess there's an old adage: how much time do you work in your business versus on your business? So I have to remind myself every single day to make sure I take a step back, allow my staff to do their job so I can work on the business, grow the business, things of that nature.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
So Paul, now that you have a business consultant in front of you, is there any business challenge that you're faced with that I can possibly help you with? If so, what is that?
How much time do you have on you?
Well, I have a lot, since we're friends and we know each other. But for this purpose, what's something that's kind of on the front of your mind these days?
So obviously we're in some strange times, and as an organization, traditionally we've been a debt-free organization. We've maintained a very clean balance sheet, and it's something we take a lot of pride in. And with all of the different debt programs out there, if it's PPP, EIDL, or even some of the private ones that the banks are providing, we've been given, I'd say, some advice from other parties to take as much of that debt as possible, because we just don't know what's going to happen. So my real question is, as we incur this debt, how do we manage that? How do we balance that with our expectation to try to be a debt-free company, and will that hurt us down the road?
Yeah, oh my gosh, great question. And there's really two schools of thought right now. What we learn in our MBA classes in finance, you always want to take debt financing because that's a cheaper form of financing than equity financing. And I'm not talking about selling shares, equity financing. Equity financing is using your own money. You're not taking debt, at all. So debt financing is always going to be cheaper. And that's just a hardcore finance, finance geek would tell you. But at the same time, you really want to be a good corporate citizen. You want to be a good corporate citizen to all the other businesses out there, and possibly not raid the Paycheck Protection Program. I have a lot of thoughts about that, or the economic injury disaster loans. But there are a lot of struggling businesses out there, and if you want to be a corporate citizen and you're healthy enough to avoid taking that money, then you don't need to take it. Let it be there for other companies that can really use it. But also at the same time, you want to make sure, as a steward of the company, you've got to look out for the company's best interests. And if that means taking on some debt financing to ease the burden of possibility of not having enough revenue, but it keeps your employees safe for 8 weeks or 24 weeks, then as a business owner, that's what you have to do. You have a responsibility to your employees as well. And I think that's the hardest part about balancing that. And my suggestion to you is, look to yourself and ask, okay, well, what is your philosophy? How do you want to be known in the business community? How do you want to be known as a leader from your employees? And that's where you can start thinking, should I take funds? or not. If they happen to be paycheck protection loans, once again, are you taking so much that you're going to make it impossible for someone else who needs it a little bit more than you, and can you weather the storm without it? Then I would say don't take it. But if you think revenue is going to take a big hit because of COVID era, and you really don't want to put your employees out on the street, well, that's what the program was designed for. You should definitely consider taking it, and if you do, make sure that you have all of your bookkeeping records straight, because you'll be able to apply for forgiveness. And that's a program that is afforded to almost all businesses who are eligible. So my philosophy is, if you need it, by all means, go ahead and take it, because your employees would thank you for it. And that's what the program is for. But if you don't need it, try not to take that. When it comes to other forms of financing, those could be really great in terms of, do you want to grow the business? Are you going to use those funds to do something really cool, like, growing the business and entering in a new market, or opening up your 4th office, something like that? That's fantastic. But if you want to take on the funds just to give people bonuses and raises, that's definitely not the reason to do so. So Paul, I don't know if I really answered your question as, hey, you should definitely take it, but I think it really depends on what your objective is. What are you trying to accomplish? And who do you want to be as a leader, for your employees, and how do you want to look to the business community? I think it starts with that. From there, then you can have maybe an easier decision on how to take financing.
Right.
Does that make any sense?
Makes a lot of sense. That actually is really helpful. I really appreciate that.
Okay, great. Paul, let's wrap up with some final thoughts. Is there anything that you would want our viewers to know? If so, what is that?
Well, thanks, Albert. This is actually more fun than I thought it was going to be.
Awesome.
So the number one thing is, we're an organization that is very keen on educating not only our clients, but any future clients about not only IT services, but more importantly, cybersecurity services. And the biggest area that I want to leave people with is, do not wait to contact an organization like us. It doesn't have to be us, but any company that does specialize in cybersecurity services. Don't wait for that moment where there's a data breach or a ransomware attack or something where your system is brought to its knees because of an attack. We can help you ahead of time, and the cost of doing that before that is exponentially lower, as you can imagine.
Yeah, I can attest to that. I've had a couple clients, big name clients, I won't name them,
Sure.
but sometimes they get hit for $500,000 just like that, and it was a mistake or something like that. But I think the things that you can put in place can greatly reduce that from happening.
Absolutely. So.
Okay, Paul, thank you so much for spending time with us and telling us about your wonderful business. But before we go, can you tell our viewers how they can get in touch with you?
Great, thanks again, Albert. So once again, my name is Paul Wartenberg, Enhanced Technologies Group, and you can reach us at 714-970-9330.
Thank you all for watching this video. We hope you really got value out of this, and we will provide EnhancedTech's contact information in the description and the comments below. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. And if you want to know anything more about EnhancedTech, you can also put a comment below and we'll reach out to you and we'll try to get you in touch with Paul as well. And if you think there's another business that could benefit from a business spotlight video, please also comment below or reach out to us directly and we'll make sure we do that. See you on the next video.